7 years ago, when I tried to beat Sonic Adventure, I failed. There's so many people that talk up this game, and I had almost nothing but a bad experience with it. But one fateful day, I had my friends Max and Cody with me as we tried to finally beat it. Before I even begin, I'm not gonna really explain the animation much because it's bad. We all know it's bad. Well, let's just accept that right now and experience the game. So starting off, we of course start with Sonic's story. One of the most frustrating parts of the game is the very first loop in the very first level. Whenever I would go play this, I would fall through the floor every single time. But I should mention, this is only an issue in the DX version. I played it on my very real and very legit Dreamcast, and whoa, it was not an issue at all. And it kind of boggles me that's even a thing with like the Steam version, because the Steam version is the DX version, and it really just, it's kind of insane. But then there it was, my first roadblock of the game, completely gone. However, we encounter my real roadblock for this game. You know what that is? It's my biggest problem with all RPGs, JRPGs, action games. Reading. You see, after the first Eggman boss fight, you have to explore the world until you find out where to go. While the answer was simple, this walled my 18-year-old self into never completing the game. It was just to pick up this random statue and bring it to a specific location. I could have just looked it up in a guide, but with Sonic Adventure Extraordinaire Cody guiding me through it, it became painfully obvious that I am lazy as fuck.
Lazy. And then every time you're like, oh, how do I do the thing? And I'm like, bro, did you not like pay attention at all?
Hey, I'm honest. Counts for like at least something, right?
Yeah, but you think you'd learn.
With that out of the way and onto the next page, I got to experience what I couldn't before. So there we go, to the sky where anything was possible. Even tornadoes are way high up. We all know for a fact that if you're ever stuck in a tornado though, make your way all the way to the top and you'll get out. Never fails. I started to notice here that during the long run sections of the game expects you to have pretty fast control, and the control is not very good. You'll bump into the railings a lot. It's really hard to not do that. Now again, we have to change areas and go to a place I would not have expected at all. You have to go get the light shoes in the sewers. Yeah, so without Cody's help, I would have gotten lost, had to look up a guide, and just not have fun. Also, at this point in the game, you can pick up this random man, which you think is a man, but it's actually a statue, but like, he's just holding what looks like to be a person, and I want you to all be proud of him. We then go to a casino, and some people say casinos are a scam, but unfortunately for them, I already have a gambling addiction, so it means nothing to me. This level is really unique because it's a whole bunch of mini games, and you have to get a certain amount of coins to a pile so then you can jump up and get the thing. So after you fail the mini game, it drops you in the sewer and you have to go through traps that could damage you and make you lose all your rings as you try to make it back to the main casino. There's one pinball game in this casino, however, that referenced the Sega game Dreams, and here's my reaction to what happens during that mini game.
I just wasn't expecting this. That's all I got.
No, that's why I wanted you specifically to do this slot machine. It's because, like, this slot machine is just a trip for no reason, and I don't understand any of it because I haven't played Nights.
So after getting enough rings to fill this pile, we can finally reach the Chaos Emerald at the top. I then found out you can actually just glitch your way to the top up there, which makes sense because, you know, Sonic Adventure, but it is what it is. As soon as we exit the casino, we immediately get chloroformed by Eggman, and then he steals our Chaos Emerald and runs though. But here we go again, bringing a statue to a random pedestal, and then we get in the zone, the Ice Cap Zone. In this zone, there's climbing on ceiling spikes, and depth perception, it doesn't exist. We also get the best advice known to man.
Oh
But on the bright side, we get to snowboard, so how mad can you really be? Well, that depends on how much you can control it, but hey, I had fun. Then at the bottom of the mountain, we obtain yet another Chaos Emerald. Sure hope this one doesn't get taken by Eggman. Then as we're exploring in the overworld, his name is Knuckles, and he doesn't, you know the line. He tries to take our Chaos Emerald, and we fight him, and well, it isn't a hard fight, but since we're distracted, Eggman then steals both ours and Knuckles' Chaos Emerald. Who could have seen that coming? And then we have to kill Chaos 4, where we fight on lily pads. You'd think this would be an incredibly hard fight for Sonic, but it turns out Sonic turned into Jesus briefly and can just walk on water that's really deep. After we kill Chaos, we then get to attack the egg carrier on the tornado. After winning in here, but losing in the cutscene, we get to then wander around town again. Running around town, we run into Amy in Twinkle Park, and then we rush to find her after she gets away, and we go go-karting, kinda? I don't really know why I had trouble driving here, but we all know Sonic is too cool to have both hands on the wheel, so after that we get to the amusement part of the park, and there are a whole bunch of silly mini games, such as bowling that you have to play to progress. We also learn that I'm the type of person that can get spares, but not strikes. Eventually, after some platforming, we learn that Amy got away from us, and we have to search for her in the overworld again. After completing the level though, an employee card drops, and it took me way too long to find something that was right in front of my face, but I'm gonna feign ignorance. Then up and down and all around. The next stage is Speed Highway. I recognize this stage immediately because it's one of the chosen stages in Sonic Generations, and I'm really familiar with it. This is all about going fast on the roads that lead to running up walls and buildings. Out of all the levels so far, I definitely feel like this is the most cohesive level. After completing the first section of the stage and then getting to the second stage, we learn that Sonic has a new nemesis, cars. So after getting run over, we get back to the overworld, and then we find Amy in the mountain zone getting kidnapped by Mr. Robot. We then learn how to do the lightspeed attack that we never use, and we visit the island where Sonic 3 takes place. Yeah, so this entire island is where Sonic 3 takes place. It's quite impressive, I must say. But then we start the Red Mountain. Okay, so this level definitely has the most platforming so far. Most of the other levels focus on going fast and then half platforming, but this level is all platforming. You need to run around several mountains and jump between them, zip line through them, but it's all about choosing where you land and where to attack. I only had one death in this, and that's not something I'm losing my gamer card over. Midway through the stage, we get to go into a volcano with more platforming over lava. But this stage has some of my favorite enemies. There's the daddy long leg spiders, which they're just so unique compared to everything else. And then there are ghosts in jail that remind me of Subspace Emissary, and it's just The goal of the level is to reach the egg carrier, so then we find ourselves in the tornado trying to fight the egg carrier, so then we can get onto it. With this level, we get to fight a very hilarious boss because it's where you just mash as hard as you can, move out of the way, and then he's done. Bam, zip, bang, bop. We then land on the egg carrier, and then we go, here we go! And then Eggman changes the shape of the ship so we can't quite navigate it, and then we start the sky deck. The stage starts out with jumping between the low-hanging side of the ship, and you get to have Tails as buddy for this level, which he does nothing, and I get the biggest betrayal in my life.
You can jump, by the way.
Oh. I was trolled. I was absolutely trolled.
And I'm not sure I'll ever forgive Cody for this. We have to deactivate the power cannons, and we go around the stage to the fourth pillar to turn them off. Then after blowing that up, we get teleported to the top of the ship somehow, where the wind is constantly trying to blow you off the ship, which might have happened, it might not. Oh, also the ship then starts falling apart while still staying in the air, and you just have to make sure you don't get sent to the surface. And then we get to fight the big cannon again. When this blows up, we're then sent to a different start of the stage, which is now puzzle platforming. If you couldn't tell, this is definitely the longest level so far. We then find ourselves inside the egg carrier, out of the level. And instead of doing some of the puzzles, I accidentally went the right way, and we get to see Amy losing her bird to Eggman, and whoa! The bird had a Chaos Emerald! No way! That's insane! And then we get to fight Gamma, and then right as we're about to deal the final blow, Amy's like, no, he's my friend! And then we just say, okay. And then now we're in the open world and we have to figure out how to change the egg carrier back to its original shape. We then spend 10 minutes trying to find the next level, and by we, I mean me, with Cody laughing in the background. Very rude. We then get to see the absolute legend though, Big the Cat. But we're actually here to fight Chaos. He has 6 of the 7 Chaos Emeralds right now, which means he's technically still beatable. We then proceeded to job on the first attempt, and I learned that's the classic throw a bomb, have him suck it in, he turns hard and you bop him. And then after 3 minutes on the second attempt, I then realized he didn't have to suck it in, you just had to throw it at him, and it made me feel really stupid for wasting 3 minutes of my life that could have been 20. Man. Anyways, we then jump off the egg carrier and run into a pyramid that is the Lost World. Now this is your typical end of the game, weird, hard level, but in my opinion, it's not hard because of the actual difficulty, it's more so the physics and the camera angle. The physics when going through the tunnel at the beginning with pillars coming out doesn't really work super well, and the camera angle during the water stone serpent was really not ideal. But this serpent, where you have to climb with water rising and pressing switches to try not to drown, it's a really cool experience. It was legit probably my favorite part of the level. There are then these mirrors that the mirrors don't point the way you think you do, because you have to point to the bottom left of the mirror, which sometimes doesn't actually hit the mirror. I also got memed by my electric shield pulling in rings that you need to light speed dash on, but but we made it work. Further in this pyramid, we could climb up the walls to progress, which once again is pretty cool. We then end up in a lost world where a temple appears to be on fire. There's destruction and death everywhere, and we see a female Echidna saying she's gonna put a stop to everything. Then the camera fades, and then we end up in the same place, but there's no death and destruction. And we see Eggman flying above us, and we follow him to the final egg. So this stage starts out by giving us a shield and an extra life, and that should just tell you how this level's gonna go. You get to do all sorts of stuff. Dodge lasers, run on treadmills, run off cliffs, jump past hammers, get hit by hammers, fight a horde, fall down a 1,000-foot corridor, fight another horde, and you get to also look at some really cool crochet, and then you get to fight Sonic's final boss, the Viper. So how do you fight that Viper? Well, you just wait for him to open his mouth, and then you just hit Eggman in the face. As you deal more damage to Eggman, you'll then switch sides because it's on a rail kind of system, and then he'll eventually start taking away half the platforms and then slowly at a time. And I might have died to him taking away platforms because I thought he took away one and he actually took away two. But to defeat him in this phase, he sends destructive discs at you and you just have to jump on them and then hit him again. Eggman also has a last ditch effort, which is where he tries to ram it into you after his health bar is gone and you don't know he's going to do it. And a lot of people would probably get upset by this, but I thought it was super sick. I had a lot of fun just being like, oh shit, and then jumping out of the way. After this, Eggman flies away, and that's Sonic's ending theme as we run off into the sunset, and then we get to start the next one. So, you like birds? Well, Amy decided it was her life's mission to bring this bird to their parents. All three of Amy's stages consist of getting to the finish line while avoiding a pursuing robot. Well, I at first assumed this robot was going to capture me with the very first hit, the very first touch. It doesn't. It's just a normal Sonic hit. You just lose rings, which is insane. On top of that, you can just sit there and bop the robot with the horny hammer, and he'll be stunned for a few seconds. When I first heard about these stages and having to avoid a pursuer, I got flashbacks to Resident Evil 3 and Resident Evil 2, and I was like, no thank you. And it turns out I was kind of dreading it at that time. But honestly, it turned out to be engaging because it was a really easy way to have a timer, essentially, because there were puzzles you had to do while he was attacking you, and all made for a very unique and fun system. Oh, by the way, the Burb has a Chaos Emerald. Whoa! All we really know is you protected your bird friend. Amy decided to be nice to the bird, but that's all we can really say about her story. The next character we had to play out was Gamma, and he probably has the coolest gimmick of all. Instead of being a furry, you get to be a sick robot. So the way his stages work is you start out with 3 minutes, and every combo you do with your missiles get you more time to complete the stages. At the very start of his arc, you start with a younger brother complex trying to beat your older brother, and like the 1 in 100 chances, you manage to pull it off when it matters. But this means he gets excommunicated, taken apart, and then turned into something else. And you get to watch that happen. But we'll get into that later. You were then tasked with catching a frog. This frog decided it wanted to take a trip to the Animal Crossing New Horizons DLC and get on an island at the beach. We are, however, going to destroy its home and take it with us. We then get to see Amy in the prison cell. We then get asked the question, and like everyone's SATs, we blanked. We decided we didn't want to answer the question, so we decided to not deal with it and just let her go, get away from the teacher, not worry about it. We now set out for destruction. We realized that liberating the bird wouldn't stop it from the other 4 robots out there. So we decided to go kill all of our brothers. So remember in Sonic's story when he beat us? Well, it turns out we get to fight him in our story and we win until the cutscene plays afterwards, and then we somehow lost. But the final boss for Gamma is his brother who got taken apart because of us. You got to see so much emotional trauma communicated through no actual emotion, and our older brother, he was up for revenge, and nothing was gonna stop him. Well, except us. And just like that, we had to take him apart. We had to dismantle his plans. We had to take out the trash. We set birds free and moved on to something else that flies. Tails. Sonic's #1 pal was up to the plate. As everyone knows, this little fox can do what Sonic can't. Fly. So the way all these stages are set up is you play through 4 of the same stages that Sonic does, but you're racing him. And you might think, that's a little unfair. However, it feels like you're playing Action Replay because you can just cheat through every single level. You can fly, you can take shortcuts, and watches the bar at the bottom, which tells you how far you're through the stage, just blips compared to him being at a steady pace. Honestly, this is probably one of my favorite parts of the game, just to be able to see all of that, and it's like you're speedrunning. After those 4 same stages as Sonic's, with pretty much the same plot, you then get to watch Eggman as you've never seen him before. He's completely lost it all. He's beyond recognition to the Eggman most people know today, and he stole the nuke codes, and he sets off the nuke. So your job is to save the city as Tails. Before the nuke detonates, Tails Tails' job is to disarm that nuke, and this is the first time Tails had to realize that it was him. He was the only one that could do this, and Sonic could not help him. He wanted to make that difference and leave his mark on the world. Racing Eggman to the nuke, we get to disarm it and complete his story. You know he's Knuckles because he doesn't chuckle. For this, we actually let Max take up the controller. These stages basically play the same way they do in Sonic Adventure 2, where you're going around collecting 3 Chaos Emeralds, but it has a stark difference. So normally in Sonic Adventure 2, you'd only be able to sense 1 of the 3 emeralds at a time in order as you collect them. However, in Sonic Adventure 1, the radars for all 3 work simultaneously, making it so much of a more enjoyable experience. This means you can just tell by going around the map instead of needing to rely on hints and then get frustrated, because you'd be able to find ones that you would have passed on accident. And it was really in this story we got to see what was happening at the same time. So a lot of different cutscenes throughout each story line up with each other. I haven't been going through all too many of them because a lot of them end up lining up with each other and we've already seen them before, but it's really cool to just watch how everything's happening at the same time, but not at the same time when you're traveling around. For Knuckles, we were in the overworld longer than in the stages, which is nice, but also like a little annoying. The overworld's kind of a drag because you know what's gonna happen, and the areas don't really get any bigger. It's just something convoluted happening every time. But with Knuckles' story out of the way, we move on to Big the Cat. Now, everything we know about Sonic is his personality's big, his shoes are big, and his hands are big. But you know what else is big in Sonic Adventure? Big the Cat. Big stages are the final real character that we get to play as, and his are so different from the rest, it's kind of hilarious. As Cody puts it,
Sega Pro Bass Fishing.
people tend to have problems with this part of the game, and that's because it's not really playing a platformer that much. It's instead going around in each stage and catching a frog. When we first tried to catch Froggy, it was, we couldn't understand. But it's really funny, because if you just simply look up how fishing works, you just need to be holding a specific direction when you try to hook him, and there's amount of times that he will purposely let go. So as long as you know that for the amount he's going through, it's gonna be so much simpler. It's hilarious. Something else you have to keep in mind is everywhere in the overworld, you have to know where the lure upgrades are. If you're not upgrading your fishing rod, it's gonna just be harder and harder the further and further you go into his story. It was really funny because on Emerald Coast, Max was trying to catch Froggy, and I was told about Game Grumps' famous video with Aaron being so upset about this. I actually started watching the video while Max was trying to catch Froggy, and we caught it before the video even ended.
It's just that easy.
Well,
Man, 226. Man, that's the key for the big segments. It's like you just find Froggy and then you pass right next to him.
yeah.
Oh, he's got boom.
The final boss for Big is also very, very funny, because what you have to do is the big chaos that Sonic has to fight at the end of his story is you have to hit that. And by hit that, I mean throw your fishing rod in and then Froggy gets caught out. And that's all you have to do. Remember when I said this was the last character? Well, I'm technically right, but there's another story featuring Sonic, but this time he's Super. It's Super Sonic time, baby. It turns out Chaos has all 7 Chaos Emeralds now, and now he's a big blob that definitely just flooded the city. Which begs to question how big the city is, considering there's nothing else left in the distance, and this is just it. But we're gonna ignore that. So for this part of the game, you simply have to go as fast as you can into Chaos.
We're here to kill chaos.
However, this is a lot harder in Sonic Adventure compared to the reiteration that this has in Generations, and I failed. I failed a lot. There were so many times I just went and just didn't make it. I was so close, yet so far. And I think I'll just let you watch the rest of what happened in this game.
No!
Sorry to tell you, Nick. But I think that looks like a homing attack.
Let's go!
One more. 43 rings in a dream.
Is it a fever dream?
No.
I definitely hit a fucking thing.
There we go, though. You've done it.
So all in all, I wrote this game off so much from when I was trying to beat it 7 years ago. I'm not going to praise this game for being incredibly good, because there's so many things that are kind of off about it, but I definitely didn't give it the credit it deserved. It's much better than a game than I thought it was. The controls are a little funny, the animation's just bad, but at its heart, it has a lot of really cool ideas for like how Sonic progressed compared to other games when you're not really using much of the cast. So it was really nice to just like feel like everyone was a real character compared to some games where it's just Sonic. On top of that, Gamma shit is really, really cool, and I'm kind of sad that, you know, he exploded and then doesn't come back. I know we get Omega, but like I remember a lot about this game, and I'll definitely remember a lot about it from time to come. It's one I might replay every now and then, but it's still not the best caliber of Sonic game in my opinion, and that's where I think it's gonna sit. So adios. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you want, you can subscribe. I'd appreciate it. You're already this fucking far into the video. I mean, like, it'd just be helping me out, and I would appreciate it. So I will talk to you all in the next one.